Welcome, everybody, to another episode of Camcast with your host, Cam, which is me. So today we're gonna have some interesting topics. We're gonna have some fun. We're gonna talk about some interesting things from the media, uh, things that might have to do with entertainment and athletics. Not really, it's not like, oh, once again, sports. No, more so just about, kind of ways of processing or ways of looking at some things. Y'all know how I kind of get into it. I'm not really the biggest person on stats, but I keep up with them every now and then. But that's not really what I'm here for on this particular platform. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So, the first thing that I actually want to do today is basically just give thanks pretty much to all of those who have pretty much been supporting all of the videos, those who have watched both, if you haven't made it over to, of course, those on, I have two different platforms on YouTube and Apple Podcasts, and I just want to give thanks to those of you supportive fans who have supported, throughout each episode as I've been doing this for quite a while or quite some time now, and basically just I really want to give thanks and let you know that I do appreciate your support and constantly coming back to continue viewing the content that I create for you, and I plan to continue to create it for you. So, but yep, so that's that. So, let's get into it further. So, today we're going to, of course, basically designate area or point in time where I kind of simply talk about my attire or whatever, just to give you kind of an idea of what I'm bringing to the table. So let's talk about it. Today I have on I guess you consider this navy, one of my favorite suits actually, a bright navy or navy, whatever you want to call it. I consider it a bright navy, but a navy suit with a double-breasted suit that usually comes with like about maybe 6 or so buttons, but this one's kind of special. It only has like the 4. It's a bit, I guess you can call it a little bit more polished. So yeah, it has if you can see it, I don't know if as I walked over, you can tell or not, with the gold window pane pattern is what you call it, basically. Right underneath it, I have a tannish, creamish, goldish dress shirt underneath. That also basically comes with the burgundy necktie that has a gold, teal, turquoise, and white stripe on it. So yeah, and on top of that, attached basically to the tie and the dress shirt would be a silver and gold tie clip. Tie pin, tie clip. I've heard both, so whatever you prefer. I like to call them tie clips. They're also called something else. I believe I want to say tie bar. I want to say, yeah, they're also called that, but I prefer to call it tie clip. Also underneath, I have some gray dress socks on with a white window pane pattern on them and some brown Oxford dress shoes. So, yep. Kind of got a little something tucked over here too, but it doesn't really want to act right today. Little tan pocket square. Yeah, it kind of does what it wants to do. So, yeah, I'm still kind of getting in the mix of how to fold those. I don't really wear them that often, but when I do, I wear them. So recently before, I spoke to you all about the suit vest, and I told you all that I would kind of get more into my interest and kind of explain the purpose behind them, or at least what I understand the purpose of them to be. So I'm going to go ahead and take the opportunity out right now to do that. So basically, when it comes to the suit vest, of course, those of you who may know what a three-piece suit is, pretty much you have two types of suit vests. You have the single-breasted. Well, you can call it single-breasted. I have suit vests with. I want to say I have one with 3 buttons. I have one with, and I have one with 4, and I might have one with 5 too. I can't remember completely, but yeah, they come in basically different ones. And basically, you have the single breasted, which is the one line going down of buttons, and then you have the one that is kind of just like my suit jacket here, is considered a double breasted suit vest, where you have the 3 buttons on the different sides, so 6 buttons altogether. And basically, it represents pretty much sophistication, wisdom, and representation. So I used to be into 3-piece suits a while back, and over time, I guess, as I started kind of meeting other people who, spoke about kind of like, how to put together a suit and things of that nature, like the vest was just never something that was mentioned. So eventually, of course, I didn't see it too much anymore. I just wasn't really wearing them because they weren't being worn often by people. And those of you who are watching might say, well, yeah, I see people wearing them a lot. I've noticed that as well too. And guess what? I've joined the team. So with that being said, the suit vest, it honestly, when I researched it and understood and read its, historical value and cultural value, I was blown. And I was like, oh, okay. I mean, then on top of that, if you live like in a warm or a cold environment, normally, especially in a warm environment, somebody actually brought my attention to this. It kind of, if you don't necessarily feel like wearing, like, how some may consider like a suit jacket to be kind of stuffy. So basically, when I thought about it, I realized, well, this is kind of genius if you think about it, because, well, here's the thing. If you don't feel like, especially in the summertime when it's like 85, 90 degrees outside and you don't really feel like being covered, with, the sleeves of the suit jacket on top of the dress shirt, there's nothing wrong with, see, my thing was, I didn't mind taking the jacket off. It's just once you take it off, now I just have a bare dress shirt, which of course some people may be a fan of, but not this guy. And I mean, it doesn't bother me. It's just that I like to still be suited or have something on. And I realized, well, this is a genius invention. You can replace this with this. Of course, that doesn't mean that you don't wear the suit jacket. It's just that when it is taken off, you have that to replace it. So there you go. And on top of that, it also has kind of more of course, whenever you kind of get more into like a cold weather or you're in a colder environment, it does add a bit of more layer to, of course, that suit jacket. You basically to your suit to make you a bit warmer. It is not really much of a major addition. It's not gonna, adding that is not gonna make you feel, I guess, 10 degrees warmer. It's not really gonna do that, but I mean, it's not gonna make you colder either. So, or freezing more than what you already are. So that's why I was like, okay, well, let's go for it. That's pretty awesome. So I got into them. On top of that, it also kind of has a spiritual connection to it if you think about it, as your armor, especially if you consider yourself soldier, as most of us, some of us may be, some of us may not be. When I talk about, I don't really, it has like a military impact to it. But what I'm saying is like basically spiritually, if you might consider yourself, the man upstairs in his army, of course, spreading his word, basically, your armor would already be your jacket and your trousers. And it is kind of a vest underneath to keep you protected. And I mean, like I said, you might find that funny, but I'm just saying, like, it does have kind of like, it's like I said, sophistication, wisdom, and respect. So it's considered a suit vest. Think about it. So when I thought about it like that, I simply said, well, hey, And then sometimes too, whenever I wear suspenders and I don't have on my suit jacket, it kind of helps with covering them up. My goal isn't to always cover them up, but sometimes it just gives me an excuse to put it on. So, yeah. So that is kind of the lesson, or I guess you'll consider your fashion lesson about suit vests today. And you can also wear them. I've seen people wear them with double-breasted jackets, and also with double-breasted. A look that I might be going for in the future is you have your double-breasted suit vest with your single-breasted suit jacket. So that is something that has kind of been weighing heavy on me lately, and I'm going to implement it eventually. So stay tuned for that. So yeah, now that we've kind of gotten past most of that, let's hop right into our topic. And if I didn't introduce, of course, the platform, of course, this is I'm your host Cam, and this is CamCast. Just want to make sure I did cover those bases. And without further ado, let's get to our next point, which is going to be about loving one another. Today we have a mission today, and that mission, honestly, is we have to love one another. You know, sometimes when you wake up, and I mean, we're not just talking about all the way from the beginning of the morning, from the time you get out of bed to the time you go to sleep. I mean, it is the case, but we have basically all we kind of have is each other. If you think about it, I mean, ourselves and each other, and that's just the ultimate truth. I mean, so we have to love one another. We can't constantly be at odds and fighting with each other every single day because, well, tomorrow's not guaranteed, as we've all been told many times, growing up. I don't take life for granted. Tomorrow's not promised. Next week is not promised. Next month, next year, the next 5 years are not promised. Next few hours are not promised. Of course, we have calendars, Google calendars, electronic calendars where, we'll say, hey, this is where I'll be in X amount of years, and this is taking place tomorrow, at the end of the week, next week, That's all true. There's nothing against that. However, we do have to understand that, those days, they're not promised, Take some time today to go to the mirror and say, hey, I love you. That may project into the next person that you encounter within your day, whether that be at work or just casually. I'm not necessarily saying you have to tell them the same thing. I'm just saying that, we just have to love one another. All the constant sabotaging, hurting. With no pain, no gain, I understand. The world's full of pain, it's full of hurt, and we get that, and that's how we grow. I get it. But the thing about it is, we have to understand what is necessary and what is unnecessary. And we have to make ourselves aware of that behavior and aware of those attitudes that we project and put out into the world. Y'all know, basically, like those virtual worlds where, they'll tell you that, this particular avatar did this. This particular avatar is cooking this. They went to this place. They did this. They said this. They entered the room. They exited. There's a sheet of us somewhere, of each and every one of us. And on that sheet is documenting. I'm sure I use that word at work a lot, documentation. It is documenting our behavior. It is documenting it. Every move we make, every step we take, it is documenting it. And we need to be more conscientious of that. So, like I said, let's love one another, watch what we say to one another, and like I said, you have to understand you can't take your issues out on other people. Like, we have to understand who the real people are that are bothering us, and, face those and try to show as much love to everyone else that we can, because guess what? You never know what that person that you're about to encounter with right there is going through. Their family structure, what's going on in their lives, you never know. Which also leads me to my next point, simply of basically my athletes and entertainers. Whenever you get to a certain point in life and you put yourself and you sign up for a particular platform, you have to understand you do control the narrative. Now, there's many dynamics behind the scenes, out the cameras. Of course, we all know that. But I mean, particularly in athletics and in sports, we got to do better. We can't really, we have to do better. And I'm not simply coming here to crucify people, but you got to understand is that sometimes what they do might be simply a reflection of society as a whole. Could be shooting to basically those people that are creating or putting certain problems out there. That can be a part of it too. But the thing about it is that y'all control the narrative, and the thing about it is that when you come from a certain group of people, and when I'm not really even talking about family, I might be talking about a high school football team, high school basketball team, whatever type of organized sport you might have played back in high school that, of course, got you to the collegiate level and then got you to the professional level. You have to understand that you were separated, you were that 1% from a larger number, or that 10% from a larger number of people or a bigger number of people that made it to a certain level. So already you have an audience that is paying attention to you, especially where you came from, wherever that may be. But in addition to where you came from, you also have a wider audience, especially if it's something that's normally aired on, of course, your major networks. If we don't have to go digging on, on the guide to find you, everyone sees you. You are now worldwide. You have to understand what you signed up for. And I was just made aware of something that actually happened previous to me making this video. And the thing about it is, you set the status quo. If you don't hold yourself to a certain standard and perform on the field or a court or wherever to a certain extent, that behavior projects and carries on to everybody that watches you and spectates about you. And it flusters and it spreads basically. And they're thinking, well, hey, these guys are up here acting like this and they're doing this. Even the women, they're, doing this. These people are looking up to you. Especially you have to consider those who don't have a immediate guide or immediate mentor or immediate idol to look up to, a role model to look up to. That becomes you. Especially if your particular sport is the center of attention of a very large audience. It becomes you. Now you're the center of attention. So keep that in mind the next time, that, and like I said, it's not just sports, it's entertainment too. I mean, like I said, sometimes there are people behind the scenes that probably do things to basically persuade these particular things to happen. But, like I said, I mean, somehow you still can maintain some type of control of the image and the message that you send out to your fans and your viewers. So you become the leaders. It's just as simple as that. And I mean, it's up to you. Like they say, the world is yours, What are you going to do with that? Are you going to promote positivity? Or are you just going to continue to regurgitate the negativity that so many people are so used to? So, I mean, that's just the thing. And it's just, I'm constantly hearing about the negative things that take place. And it's just, like I say, to those of you that do come, into your professions and into your entertainment industries with the utmost respect for yourself and you carry yourself to the highest degree, I thank you. Just like I did thanks to my I thank you for basically setting a great example to those who look up to you, those who see you as a role model. We appreciate you. Not only me, everyone thanks you. Well, at least the people that want to see you do good and want to see you do well. I love seeing positivity. We need more of it. That's, of course, a large, basically a reason why I'm doing this now. So, I mean, thank you to those of you who do that, because it's not all of you. But for those of you, and like I said, we slip sometimes. We get it. Things happen, off camera, off court, that, catch our attention or might cause us to behave and perform in a certain way. And the thing is, you're right. Sometimes, honestly, we don't even need to know about some of the things that happened. We don't. So I'm speaking to those of you, too, that basically are the reason why we might know about those things. We have to love one another. We can't just be going behind and doing certain things for whatever your purpose is or whatever. So, is it worth it? Is it worth it to stigmatize this, to put this out there, to basically plague the minds of the people that are going to be affected by this information? So, think about that. So, with all that being said, like I said, continue to be great, understand what it is that you signed up for. You might even say that, well, hey, what about those people that you might wake up one morning and hear about, some mass altercation that happened in a certain area? Well, here's the thing. For one, that person, whoever caused that issue to happen, they were expecting their consequence. They were hoping that they probably would not face the consequence, but it was an expectation. You didn't get into your area, to make your content aware at whatever it is. You did not get there to basically wind up facing consequences or, facing some type of violation or something in the midst. That's not the reason why you got into it, right? So, you got to keep those things in mind. And, at the same time, those people that get into those things, they didn't sign contracts. You did. So, keep that in mind too. But yeah, without, I just kind of wanted to kind of talk about that, kind of explore some of those thoughts and, this and that or whatever. And like I said, I'm not saying that there aren't alternate explanations to why people do what they do, especially, celebrities and athletes and entertainers, there are reasons behind it, their lives are a lot more difficult than what they lead on. And, I've kind of done some research on this and I've studied this a little bit so I can understand that. But the thing about it is that, your influence, it comes first every time you step in front of a camera, every time a story is leaked. So sometimes I have to find myself doing the same thing, carrying myself as best that I can, because I understand that I have a certain audience that is looking up to me. So, but yeah, so next time, of course, I'll be bringing you a new fresh outfit, new fresh attire. I try to keep it, this and that. There was actually another shirt I was going to try to go with today, but it's not ready yet. Let's just say that. So whenever that does happen, you all will see that. And without further ado, basically, I thank you all for tuning in again. I hope y'all enjoyed today's episode. If you have any comments, please write them down below. And any alternate explanations, think about a few things that I said today. If you enjoyed the video, of course, you can like and or subscribe. That would be also very appreciated. And once again, I thank you all for tuning in, and thank you all for constantly tuning in. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day. Remember, give thanks, increase appreciation. Thank other people other than just yourselves, but also thank yourself in the process. So I'm your host, Cam, and so long.